What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what's going on with SPY, Tesla, and a couple more tickers, and also what's happening with the economic calendar. Before I begin these all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. Putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. Now, this offer ends in just about 9 hours from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the markets. I'm pretty late today, guys, because I had an instance in my family. Someone in my family was driving near a traffic stop and they ended up just having a car issue. Their car just got stuck in the middle of traffic. And this caused not only a lot of horns and a lot of anger amongst other drivers, but it also caused other issues. And this led me to just basically going there to just help resolve the issue. That took a lot of my time. But luckily, no one got hurt. There are no issues right now. Everything's okay. The car is fine. We got it to like work again. Everything's okay. And for that reason, I'm very, very late right now. So I just want to make this video very short and very quick just to get this out there. And I just want to break down a couple of tickers and what's going on with the markets. So I just want to remind you all that an hour before the market opens, okay, we have the housing starts data coming out. This could cause some volatility. We'll be watching to see how the housing market's looking during this time. Then the hour after market open, we have the New York Fed Treasury purchases from the 2.25 to 4.5 years. This might not cause anything that crazy. This tends to not be that significant. It's just the New York Fed Treasury purchases. This is not like for the entire Fed or anything like that. We could be seeing some volatility at 10:30 a.m. depending on what this looks like. The consensus is about an $80 million worth of purchases. We'll be watching for that. And besides that, I'm not really seeing anything else that's that crazy, that huge for the markets to cause any massive, massive moves. So it's going to be a kind of like a very minor day in terms of data. But there is one thing that concerns me a bit, and that is the fear and greed index. Right now, this has officially hit extreme greed, and that's very important because generally when this happens, within a month, the market does tend to top and we tend to see the market reverse. Although I mentioned that the market could kind of like retrace a bit, even if the market ends up balancing, we start pushing higher and higher to end the very end of the year. If we start pushing approaching December 31st, right? If the market remains super, super bullish, then for the month of January, I would be very careful because there will be a risk of some downside. So you just want to be very careful when we have indicators like this. We're seeing markets becoming very overbought, and we're seeing extreme greed indicators once again making up the current sentiment. We're seeing the same thing on different indicators from market momentum. Also, the put and call option positioning is very close to where we saw the lowest number in this ratio. This is the last time the market ended up finding like a top before we started to cool off a bit. So you want to be very careful, guys. The market could be in a topping process, so just be very careful. And could the top? Does this mean the top has to just come immediately? And the answer is no. We could still remain at these elevated levels for the remainder of the year. We only have like less than 2 weeks left for the end of the year, basically. So we could still remain at these high levels for some time. But I just want to warn you as we approach January, as the market continues, the top is likely going to come and the market is going to likely reverse in a very healthy fashion very, very soon. So what do I see for SPY? I'm not going to be focusing too much on 2024 or anything like that. Let's just talk about tomorrow. In my video, I had the same technical analysis. I'm just going to break this down again. We rejected off 473 on SPY, okay? If you want to be bullish, you want to see it break and hold this high right here at 474. If we break this, watch for a push up for 476, then 478, then 480. We're going to see a very powerful breakout if we break and hold 474. If we're bearish, you want to see a follow through move after this big rejection we got off 473. If we continue to the downside, it's going to come down towards 470. If that fails us, we have this gap to fill all the way down towards very close to the 469 range, maybe a little bit lower. So, what do I think is more probable? Well, honestly, guys, it depends on which way we go, but I do favor the downside a little bit more because we did attempts to break out. We ended up failing to break this high right here, and we got this big rejection. So there's a good chance, especially when you look at our momentum indicators, that SPY is starting to turn just a bit, and the overall trend could be starting to lose a little bit more momentum. So I called this pump for the most part. I told you we were going to see SPY pump first, and then we're going to be watching to see if we end up getting this follow through move to the downside. My guts does tell me it's going to retrace back down to 470, but it's not going to happen very quickly. First, it might pop tomorrow, come back down, slowly downtrend, eventually hit 470 at the end of the day. And we might fill the gap down to 468 before we attempt to bounce again. So I anticipate a bit of downside, and I will change my opinion if we break and hold 474. If that happens, then we're going to turn bullish. I favor the downside. However, I'm not going to keep my same view. For Tesla, let's break it down Tesla very quickly. My analysis was spot on Tesla. I told you it's going to likely pump up towards this 260 area, then reject. And we're going to be watching this support right here. Now, as far as Tesla goes, I'm going to be very cautious with it. Historically, we had this yellow trend line which acted as support. This is a very important trend line. See the yellow line right here? This is our support. This orange line above was our resistance. It's very simple, this analysis. So Tesla has resistance at 252 and 254. Then above that, we have these other levels such as like 257, then like 259 and 260. And for support, it's going to depend on this yellow trend line. If we test this, is going to be around this 251 to 250 range, depending on the timing in the 250s. If we lose the yellow trend line, if we break this yellow trend line, Tesla's going to turn bearish. We might see this thing come back down towards this wick right over here. The support at 248 is going to be our next target if we lose the yellow trend line. But if we hold it, we could try to bounce. This is going to depend on our test. Tesla's looking a bit weak right now, guys, so just be a little bit careful. Look for little rebounds tomorrow and see if Tesla ends up losing this support. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to break it or not, but I am a little bit worried. I'm a little bit cautious about Tesla. It could break this support and start coming lower because of the markets, so just be very careful. So for now, although there is a good chance of Tesla coming down lower, I don't expect it with 100% certainty. It depends on if we end up breaking below this yellow trend line or if we bounce off of it or not. So watch and see if we get a bounce or not, or do we just reject from the yellow trend line? If we lose it, we're going to turn bearish and see a bigger drop to 248 or even below that. If we hold it, we could try to hold these levels for the time being. My guts tells me it might actually break, but just to be safe, watch it tomorrow. Watch it very carefully just to see. Tesla's looking a bit weak, so just be a little careful. For the QQQ, the QQQ is trying to hold up, right? We had this support right over here, very close to where our yellow trend line happens to be. We could even redraw another trend line and just connect like these lows. So you could actually take like this low and this low now. But if you were to draw it like this now, if anything, I would still say the QQQ is losing a little bit of momentum. We got this nice rejection off 408. That's the exact level I called out at the top during my intraday video. I said 408 is where we might see a rejection. So I could see not SPY, the QQQ. I could see the QQQ attempting to get back to 408 to 410, then rejecting again. But I think that this thing is going to retrace and retest this breakout area at 406, then 405, and we're going to eventually see 404. And if that fails, this 402 is next. My guts tells me it's going to pop one more time, then eventually come back down towards 404. So I do anticipate some downside, and I still feel that based off these technical indicators. So on the triple Q, I just want to call out that it looks like it has some tight resistance at 408. It is flipping on the MACD. We have a bearish divergence, and it still is very overbought. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing kind of pops a little bit more and eventually starts to slow down a bit. I'm a little bit concerned, not just because of this chart, but also because of Nvda. Nvda, it made a very awesome move. I was talking about some upside coming to it, but I was worried that Nvda might reject close to 500. Instead, we actually managed to hold a little bit above it. So it was a little bit stronger than expected, but I did call this push up that was coming from this flag. If you watched my earlier video, you would have heard that. What do I see for now? Well, you'll just want to be very careful with Nvda. Watch 504, 508, then 512 as three resistance levels. For support, watch 498, 495, then we have 490 below that. Nvidia is just barely holding on to 500 right now. It's not looking the strongest. I think it's going to attempt to push higher to grab more liquidity. And I think it's going to retrace back down to 495 or so, back towards this breakout area at 492. I anticipate that for Nvidia. For a little pullback, I find that very probable. But look for a little pop and drop on Nvidia, and this might slow the QQQ down. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing rejects from now, since we're at some tight resistance and it's not really looking the strongest at that level. For Apple, we have this flag that's forming, going back and forth and back and forth. If we're bullish on Apple, if you want to see the market bounce, you need to see Apple basically do this. We need to see this break above this trend line, retest, and then just break out like this. That's going to be our bullish case. Our bearish case is basically the current trend where we're just stuck in this channel. My guts tells me Apple's looking kind of weak right now after our bearish news that came out. So we might see Apple retest the top here, and it might just continue to do this. So we when we watch charts, right, you want to assume it's just going to stay in this trend until we get some kind of break. So as of right now, this is what it looks like it's going to be doing, slowly downtrending back down to 194.4. But I will change my opinion if we manage to get a break like this. We need to see that happen in order for us to turn bullish. As of right now, we don't have it, so let's not assume it's going to happen. Let's just wait and see. And as of right now, we're on a downtrend, so Apple's looking a bit more bearish for now. We need to see this flag breakout. We need to see a big bounce if we want to be bullish. As of right now, we haven't gotten it, and I will just continue to follow the trend for the time being. All right, so that's it for the main five. I still see some downside in the markets. Be very careful. As far as Microsoft goes, we managed to get above our 50 EMA. So watch this imbalance around 373.5, maybe a little higher before a rejection. But Microsoft is showing some life, which is helping the QQQ in the markets. On AMD, we got this rejection. I told you if we break 142, I would turn bullish. If we fail to do so, it could turn bearish. Looks like it might retrace a little bit more and come closer to like 135. For the VIX is showing some life, but there's no official breakout yet. It's just barely at the 20 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. Nothing is confirmed yet on the dollar, the SQQ, or anything like that. For Coinbase, I thought this thing may actually cool off a bit soon, but we got some bullish news. It still looks bullish, so it might make an attempt to try to break this high. If it breaks 155, watch 160 as our next target, because on the daily time frame, that's one key level. And also on the weekly, I want to call out the weekly. The weekly 200 EMA is at 168, I believe, or 167. So I could see 160 if it keeps going from here. It still looks relatively strong now. It didn't end up getting the rejection we're looking for, so it's still looking decent. For Google, I said if you want to see Google break out, I told you I'm not bullish or bearish on Google. I need to see it break out first. We managed to get above our 4-hour and also our daily resistance. We got a nice break after bullish news came out. Google could push a little bit higher. It's still holding up decently. Watch it retrace a bit towards 136.2, then watch it try to bounce and hold up. So far, it's showing some life. On Amazon, I told you I'm not bullish, I'm not bearish. The chart looked bullish to me. I said that yesterday. We got a nice breakout to 155. But we'll see if Amazon retraces a bit after getting a big pump. It might retrace a bit to cool off on the RSI and retest 152.5. For Meta, on the 4-hour time frame, it's a little bit overbought. We could see Meta retrace towards 340, so watch that very carefully. But it might bounce from there. So look for a little bit of retracement of to 340, then a bounce. Meta is still showing life, so is Amazon. So these are not looking officially bearish yet. But I could see a small retracement coming. So with that being said, guys, as far as SPY goes, can SPY break out higher? Yes, but we need to break and hold 474. My gut tells me it might fail to do so. I might see a little retracement to fill its gap below down here. So just watch it just to be safe and just be open-minded nonetheless. However, guys, if the market does get a very healthy little pullback, that's completely fine. That does not mean the market's going to crash or anything. I'm just talking about this in a very healthy fashion. All right, guys, I'm going to keep this video very short. It's very simple. Hopefully this video was helpful. Please, please, please stay safe out there if you're driving or doing anything like that. I had a very interesting experience today. I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning. Thank you all once again for listening, and peace out.